Hi, you're listening and watching on Radio FM 88 Australia. We're broadcasting on FM 88 and we're coming live through Facebook, Dreaming the New Dream, Radio FM 88, Soul, Voice Empowerment, and through YouTube. But today, right at the very top, my co-host Andrena, who's now sitting in Wiltshire, and she's introduced Ramiah. Great story, really interesting, all about life-threatening and how you come out the other side. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to Andrena.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good day, wherever you are in the world and whatever time zone. Thank you for tuning in to us. And today I have great pleasure in introducing Ramiah, who is a great friend. And as a lot of you know, I was in Australia for 10 years. I've been back about 18, 19 months now. And I've met some really amazing people that are walking their talk and following their dream. And I have to say, meeting Rami and Shakti made a big difference to my life, to my health. And I didn't realize how unwell I was at the time until I met them and went on a journey of a 3-month colon cleanse. I did a mega detox, which was very gentle and easy. And Rami has also helped me with lots of clients who've had health issues, and I've messaged him, can you help me with this? Because I can't answer lots of things. And he's been, every time, he's never moaned or complained. He's helped me with, or both of them have, with different people and their illnesses, and given free advice every time. So on that note, I would love to welcome Ramiah, and would you share your beautiful story of how it all started?
Yeah, thanks, Andrena. It's great to catch up with you again after this time. We spent many times together chatting and enjoying the Australian sunshine over here. So, my journey, around 12 years ago, nearly died from a number of seizures over a course of a couple of years. There's 5 seizures, and as guys do, I finally went to the doctor, and they couldn't. I did every test under the sun, ECG test, a stress test, blood test, you name it, and there was nothing wrong with me. And so I thought, well, you guys don't really know what you're doing, so I started doing a lot of my own investigation. And then before all that happened, also Shakti had ovarian cancer, and at the time we didn't know much better, so she had the tumour removed, and while they were there they did a full hysterectomy, and meanwhile we had a couple of children around, over the year from 5 to 12 or 10 years old as they grew. And so there was a lot of stress, and parents passed away at the time, and with all that, I ended up putting everything I learnt into the book, Clean Up Your Act, which is a story about Shakti and myself. And then I realised that the book, after doing a first book, that really it was about my attitude that was causing the habits that were causing my health. And so in chapter 2 in the book, I go right into that, about the attitude and what we're thinking about, and how it really instigates the habits, and the habits that we have end up creating our lives. So we all, I think this slide Jeff's got there that come up, we all start out around about the same, and same opportunities, and as we go, we have things like poor parenting and culture, religion, beliefs, friends. A negative mindset is grown. We're not, through the education system, taught to really shine. We're taught to comply and learn something, recite it in order to get good marks, and then get a good job and pay your taxes. So that makes us a bit bored and lazy. We're not taught to fulfil our purpose. We're taught mainly to, like I was saying, comply, a very regimental army-based style of education. And so, yeah, we become bored and lazy and fearful. We don't exercise. We start to blame others for our lives, the government, the medical industry, whatever. We become a bit of a victim. So we're not happy. We've got no passion in our lives. We've got no purpose, no direction, and life sucks pretty well. So we want to feel better. So we start looking for external happiness, and which is basically escape, a bit of relief out of our lives. So we look at things like smoking, drugs, medication, alcohol, gambling, sex, internet, coffee, energy drinks, whatever, anything to give us relief. And we end up with things that we, excuse me, we have fairly consistent issues then which go on throughout society. We end up with drinking very little water, and we have toxic buildup and foggy brains, and we get detached, we put on weight, we have behavioural and relationship issues, and that makes us happy, and we become self-centred, no consideration for others, and as time goes on, we become fearful of our future, and you know, especially these days, you can imagine a 18 to 20 something millennial, and they've invested maybe $100,000 debt in the HECS high school or college bill, and they come out of it, and then they end up with this, you know, can of worms that where they can't get a job, they can't leave their home, you know, lockdowns, whatever, and it must be really depressing. So they listen to mainstream media too much and get the fear build up that's going on. So with that, they start to worry. They have become very emotional, and when you're emotional, you tend to make really emotional choices, and they're not always the best choices. We have a lack of sleep, which really impacts on our choices and well-being again. And we start to have no consideration for others. We become very self-centered, and whatever makes me happy at somebody else's expense. With that, we tend to build up our gut a bit, and we end up with constipation because of the poor diet and that we've seeking relief. We end up with constipation, build up an acid body, our eyesight declines, and then because we haven't got full control over the body, we tend to put ourselves in incidences that cause injury and disease, and we catch virus infections. We end up trying to solve things with surgery rather than looking at the cause, and on medication, and we get intolerant. We have a lot of toxicity, deficiency and blockages, and that is basically the end result of all those issues: chronic inflammation and acid body. And so with that, because we often can't create a life we want and the money we need, we end up in debt, a bit of a poverty cycle, which adds more stress. We get anxious, we have anger, we have the grumpy old man syndrome and the whinging old woman syndrome. So, and even couples that have been together some 20, 30 years, we know are splitting up because they're not handling each other now, because they've actually got to live together instead of escaping to work. So with chronic fatigue and that builds up from that and become lonely, depressed, quite sad, and eventually can end up with suicide. And I know recently, it's not reported so much in the news, but we know a guy, a first responder in the Sunshine Coast, that attends 7 to 9 suicides every week. And that's where things are going because of the depression. People don't see a future. And it's basically because of fear. And fear can really drive a person's life. So we don't need that fear aspect in our lives. That's where we need to create a happiness cycle in our lives.
Hearing you.
Sorry?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Yeah.
Oh, good, good. Okay.
Fully understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So if you look at that one, Jeff, the sickness cycle, we end up with quite a negative attitude, and we end up blaming, complaining, fear-based and all that sort of thing, low confidence, no imagination. So we end up with a basic negative attitude, and again, anything to feel better. So we turn to junk food, and we have a sedentary lifestyle instead of exercise. We become bored and really lazy. We hypnotically drift from day to day without getting up and going, wow, I've got all this to achieve, and say, oh, well, why get up at all? You know, it's only going to be a Groundhog Day again, so I'll just stay in bed, and you get quite lazy. So we start seeking into external happiness, again, in the gambling and that sort of thing, internet. We get really addicted to these things, like caffeine, sugar, alcohol, drugs, whatever. And that puts stress on the body. Toxic. We end up with a toxic liver and organs, especially because absolutely everything you eat goes through the stomach, the bowel, and is extracted, and it goes through the liver and the kidneys and into the blood and feeds every other organ in your body, including your brain. So it is vital that you watch what you're putting into that area on a constant basis. So then with that, we end up with a deficiency in magnesium, zinc, and other minerals and vitamins and essential fatty acids. And then with that, we end up with inflammation. And, there's so many people have got a really swollen bones and all this, and they say it's arthritis. Well, I started to get arthritis. My mother had rheumatoid arthritis. She died in 52, at the age of 52, in a car accident. But prior to that, she had surgery with pins stuck in her toes, trying to fix it all. And yet she ate so much sugar. So I've reduced my sugar intake. I still have a little bit, but now I have, intelligent choices behind it. I have a little bit of sugar, and but not much at all. So that.
Can I just interrupt there? Say on sugar, are you talking about white sugar, or are you talking about the brown sugar, or your raw sugar, or are you talking about the fructose of fruits that you eat?
Pretty well all that. If you add too much sugar all the time, sugars are one of the worst carbs, and carbs basically turn into sugars. So what tends to happen as you eat sugars, half the normal white sugar that we have is glucose, and that goes into the liver and is used for energy, and that's why we get that pickup within 5-10 minutes. But the other half goes through, and it's not recognized by insulin. So that sugar goes straight into the liver, and the liver says, I know your energy, so I'll have to convert you to fat, and puts it into the blood literally within 5 or 10 minutes. Half the sugar that you eat, including flours and breads and other carbohydrates, grain products mainly, turns into fat in the blood within 5 to 10 minutes. And that circulates around it. After 5-6 decades, it blocks up in the arteries where it forks, especially, and in the smallest capillaries, which are in the feet and in the eyes. And if you look at people who are gathering fat in their body, the obese people, they've generally got purple ankles with sores on them, because the capillaries in the toes and feet are blocked up with the fat that's going around their blood. And you've got a large aorta coming from the heart, going down all the way to the feet, trying to get to the capillaries, and then you've got veins that come back, and it's trying to push uphill. So the veins operate very different to arteries, and that they pump, and then they go like a gate, comes across, and then the next heartbeat pumps. A lot of people are not walking to help that pump back up, and they end up with purple feet and finally amputations or gout or arthritis in the toes. And then their eyesight goes with macular degeneration because the omega-3s aren't washing through with the eyesight. Instead, it's using omega-6, which is the trans fats and other things in the diet. And that's a stodgy blocking sort of fat that builds up over decades, and that's where you get your macular degeneration. I used to wear glasses 15 years ago. Now I don't. So you can reverse things. And I was heading for, I had a major blood test done in 2015. Cost me $500. Went to the States for, and came back 3 weeks later, and I had 2 points on a 5-marker point towards dementia. And the changes I did, I had a root canal removed and changed my lifestyle significantly. And bit by bit by bit, I've detoxed and come good over that time to now being 65 in a couple of weeks, fit and healthy, no medication. And I'm going to get the pension soon, Ray. but I don't, financially it'll be helpful, but I don't need it. And it's just useful. But I'm not old compared to the other people my age around me, which I just see. Age is not going to worry me. It's just a marker of the amount of time since I was born. That's all it is. And we tend to be around for a long time.
That's what I always say, that, like I know I'm older on paper, but I don't feel it by any means. And I know for me, it's so important to be the best version of me health-wise, because there's still lots of travel and different things I want to do. And it's really having awareness of what's going on in your body and really sort of diving deep to find out what's going on. And if you can't get to the source, it's going to people like you and other people to help you fine tune what is going on, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. And I call the medical industry really the sickness industry, because they're really interested in resolving your symptoms so you feel better, like pain relief tablets. The original medicines were cocaine and opium, and that's where you get the painkillers from. The opioid issues are from opium-based medications, and the cocaine is the base of other painkillers, codeine and things like that. And so that's why a lot of those are on script, but there's ways around that, and there's a overdose of that prescription medication through the system. And I think in Sydney you've got they do the sewage water there, and it just shows the opioids that are in the sewage system big time. So, so all that stress on the body.
Out to the Pacific, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The sewage goes straight out into the Tasman Sea, I should have said.
Yeah, into there, and the fish eat it, and then we eat the fish. Yeah. So all of that leads to a mental stress, and you become emotional, depressed, can lead to dementia too, the depression, and chronic fatigue and poverty consciousness. So it doesn't help. So we work on helping people into the wellness cycle, which is the next stage. So you can get out of all of that with a positive attitude, where number one, you take responsibility. We're taught not to take responsibility. This whole thing that's going on at the moment is about fear and division, dependency on the government, and then ultimately control. So if you've got those 4 stages, at each of those, it's about not taking responsibility, handing over responsibility to somebody else. And like the sickness industry or the government, they've made decisions to save us, and we are the people here that can take responsibility for our own health. Sharky and I take plenty of zinc, plenty of supplements, green powders, stem cell enhancers. We clean out our bowel. We have essential fatty acids every day, vitamin D. We walk. We take responsibility for our health, and therefore we're fit and healthy. Those who choose to be on medications, well, the average medication has normal medication has an average of 70 side effects that are not supportive to the body. So, but things like steroids might lower the cholesterol. However, they won't add to the quality of life because they'll add some side effects, and they won't add to longevity of life. Whereas walking for 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week will add 2 years to your life. Taking good essential fatty acids like salmon oil, like having a feed of canned sardines or something like that a couple of times a week will increase your life by 5 years. So it's quite amazing. Just by eating better, you end up with a better lifestyle and longevity. It's all about a quality of life right through to when you pass. And my particular family, Shakti's grandparents had a very longevity of life into their hundreds. Her parents were around the 70s. Mine were around the 60s and 70s. I've already outlived some of my ancestors. So because of their choices, and it was mainly sugar-based diet.
Yeah, can I ask a question? Because I know all the things you do is important, and but you also a great one for doing coffee enemas and colonics, aren't you, as well, for really cleaning the gut out? And I know I've had a few of both, and I know at both of them, it was like fresh air was going into my stomach, and I just felt so different inside. Amazing. So you're a great advocate of the coffee enemas, aren't you?
Yes, in fact, I'm going to do a live demo now. So
lovely.
It's okay. I'll save you.
Swiftly moving on.
I've actually devoted a whole chapter 9 in the book about coffee enemas. I do essentially pretty well one a day. Sometimes I'll do one every second day. But when you're taking coffee orally, coffee itself is reasonably good for you because it's got good phytonutrients. But when you take it with dairy, the dairy encapsulates those phytonutrients and really locks them away and doesn't help the body. It just puts a burden on it. So we add coconut cream to our coffee, and I stopped having the cappuccino. So I have a long black with a bit of coconut cream in it. Absolutely good for you. The coconut cream's good. The coffee is actually good in moderation. I only have about 2 cups a day, 2 shots a day. And some days I miss out on a cup of coffee and I don't get a headache. So I'm not addicted to it and I don't need it, but I do enjoy the flavour, a little pick-me-up. But when you take coffee through the other end, through the anus, it goes in through and absorbs directly into the liver. And when it absorbs into the liver creates 7 times the amount of glutathione that normally puts out. And glutathione goes around the body. It's the ultimate antioxidant that goes around the body. It also opens up, dilates the blood vessels. So any toxins that are stored in the liver are transported into those blood vessels, which go directly to the large colon, and you pass out the bowel. In my detox sessions that I can go through, like I went through one the last couple of days. Yesterday I had a headache, big time in the temple, and yesterday afternoon I had a coffee enema after doing a natural motion, and the headache went away within 20 minutes. It is that strong, that powerful. And it's hard to tell people how to do it. As you know, Shakti sat outside the bathroom door and instructed you without looking.
Thank you for sharing that information.
That's all right.
Yeah, I know, because I had all these tubes and things, and I was thinking, oh my God, where do I put these and what do I do with them?
Yeah.
So she coached me through the bathroom door.
And it can be daunting the first time, but once you do it a few times, and you will have the odd accident, which is a bit of a clean-up, but hey, life's like that. That's why I've gone into a full chapter, step by step. I'm a anally retentive Virgo, and I just there's no crap in the book. It's just a step by step. Do A, B, C, and D, and then at the end of it, clean it up, and this is what you can expect. So. Yeah, that's been one of the major things in detoxing. So yeah, we then look at the detox cycle, the wellness cycle, and again, taking responsibility, removing the causes of your stress, whatever you're doing, like yeah, things like alcohol. You might like. Well, I used to have a beer pretty well every night of the week, and I justified it because the doctor said, oh, in moderation is good, or a glass of wine every night's good. Every shot of like a glass of wine, a full beer, or a shot of whiskey is all relative the same alcohol. So one of those shots distracts the liver from doing its job for 2 hours. And the toxins that go into the liver to do that come out the other side 60 times more toxic, right? And that's where you need a good diet to come in with good iodine that you've been taking to help with the thyroid to send the signals to make the good amino acids to deal with those toxins and turn them into water-soluble toxins. It's the key, and then they will then move out through the bowel and the bladder. So if you have too much alcohol every day, every night when you go to bed, your liver's going to be doing that for 2 to 3 hours, 2 hours per drink. So if you're having 3 drinks, it's 3 hours taken up, and you might only sleep for 7 to 8 hours. So you're not doing that cleanup you should be doing. So we don't drink from Monday to Thursday, and then Friday night, I do have a beer, but we're having mid-strength beer and not full strength. And next week I'm going to buy a carton of zero alcohol beer, and I'm going to try that because I enjoy the flavour of beer, and I don't need to get drunk to be social. I just enjoy it. It's been a habit I've had for 60, or not 60, I didn't drink when I was 5, but from when I was 20 right through, I had a lot of beer, especially up to 29. I drank a lot, 8 days a week. It's too much. And that's when things built up in the liver, and that's why I had the seizures, along with the root canal thing. So, yeah, we need to, with the positive attitude, accept the past and move on. One of the things so many therapies try to do now is fix the past. And we got to remember the past is just that, it's the past. It's what has got us here. And so that's fine. Thanks for getting me here. I've learned all those lessons. And I'm a great believer in waking up tomorrow morning to a brand new day. The closing statement in my book is called Brand New Day. Just imagine waking up, if you like, born again. You're not a male, not a female, not a parent, not a sibling, not a child. You simply are a person. You're not Aboriginal, you're not Catholic, you're not white, you're not Muslim or anything. You simply are. And now you have an opportunity to take responsibility and get on with your day and create your future. And that's really important, not to get the past and try and solve it, because you won't. Your actions today are an end result of your habits built up to then. So let's just dissolve that and set the final end result of what we want in the future. And when we set our intention at the final end result for whatever it be, a work, a relationship, finances, travel, whatever, and then we create a future heading towards that being drawn, and that's the law of attraction, which is gravity. You know, that's all gravity is, the law of attraction. We've got a big enough planet that attracts ice comets to the Earth, and they dissolve in the atmosphere and fall down as rain. That's how we got water on this Earth, according to Dr. Emoto. I went to one of his talks once. And so the law of attraction, when you have that mindset of going towards the future, creating the future that you want rather than putting out fires, fixing things from the past. Just let them go. I have seriously let go of my family, my family from the hometown, central New South Wales. I love my mum and dad. They passed. I changed my name. I moved on, and you know, they were in that area. They were very grey collar in that area, if you know what I mean. Very, very boring. Nothing to do in life. They worked for large companies that sold stationery and that sort of thing. Whereas I've, for 25 years, have or more, actually worked for myself, and every dollar I earn has been based on my skills and ability and my attitude and what I'm able to convince others that I can help them with, because I can help a lot of people with my abilities, and especially Shakti's abilities. Her abilities are just amazing at times with the psychic abilities she had since 5 years old. And she's medically intuitive, and as you know, she's done work with you and picked up things there's no way you could know, or she could know, and prescribe solutions, not only in product but in attitude and actions that have changed your life. We know for sure you were down and out at one stage when we met you over here, and you're bouncing now. And
I was like fog bound, I was in a fog, and I know it was divine timing meeting you guys, how your synchronicity led to different things, and I know when I was sat at your place, you had the products there, the barley life and the herbal fiber blend, and I could feel my body. It was like pulling me it was like screaming for this stuff. And I know that with both of your guidance, I started to feel so much better, and I didn't realize how under par I was feeling until I started changing things. But I have to say that working with you, I know we hosted lots of talks around Byron and on the Gold Coast, and you give up your time freely to do workshops and help people. And everybody comes away wanting to do, when they listen to your talks and they see the diagrams, they want to make a difference to their health. And when you, like, people have got celiac and so many different ailments, and they don't realize it all stems from the gut and all of these things. And it's like you say, every day's a new day, and every morning I always say, like, today's a new day. What magic and miracles can I create today? But it's making different choices, isn't it? It's every day make a new choice, step out of your comfort zone and say, right, what can I do today? And even if you only do something small, it's a stepping stone along the way. And I know there are lots of people, because I'm on the canal at the moment, and I meet so many people, and I see so many people that are carrying lots of weight, walking with stick, and they're so much younger than me. And so, I often chit chat and just sort of see where they're at and if I can help in any way. But it is making new choices. So for people that are going through all sorts of aches and pains and all sorts of things, what would you suggest would be a good starting place for them to start to turn their lives around if they're like quite overweight or quite sick? Because it is, for some people, it's really hard to turn things around, and a lot of people don't want to, and they're happy where they are. And I've had to learn to step back and think, right, okay, that's your choice. You're happy where you are. I'm here if you need me, and move on.
Yeah. Well, the one of the big things is to reduce the weight. Like if you're carrying 10 20 kilos overweight, if you go into the supermarket and pick up a 4 kilo bag of potatoes, they're heavy. So you pick up another one and that's 8 kilos, and some people are carrying 12 kilos. So you imagine carrying around 3 bags of potatoes, and 12 kilos overweight is not a lot these days. Some people are 20 or 30 kilos. And so the best way to reduce that, we found just about 3 years ago, we were introduced to intermittent fasting, where we were always brought up with 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch and dinner, and plenty of carbs and sugar with that. So now what we do is we don't eat till 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then, yes, I know some people are vegetarian or vegan-based people, but we went and have a good meal of combined with protein, animal protein, chicken, beef or lamb or that sort of thing, along with some veggies, and we have a really hearty meal around lunchtime. And then in the afternoon I might have a cup, maybe a cup of coffee, a nut bar, and perhaps a piece of fruit. And then in the evening I may have a kombucha, which we make ourselves, and a couple of pistachio nuts. That is amazing. Like you're only eating in this 6 hour window, 4 to 6 hour window, and then from about 7 o'clock at night right through to 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock the next day, you're not eating. You're just drinking plenty of water, you're exercising. Now for the first couple of weeks that's a bit hard because you're so used to it. So it's good to say maybe not eat till 9 o'clock and then 10 o'clock and 11. But bit by bit, I've literally gone 24, 36 hours without food. You can go a long way. And when you do push over that 12 to 18 hour mark, the liver creates ketones, and ketones go around and triggers the body to live off the fat that is already in the body. And so that energy is taken. So we're so used to providing the energy through the carbs that we eat meal after meal, and that gets us through the next 4 hours. And that's why we're trained with the food pyramid and that sort of thing. The reality is, if you don't eat all the time, because our caveman ancestors might have killed an antelope or whatever, dragged it in, and they'd feast on it while it was fresh before it went off, before the flies got to it. And in between they might find a few root vegetables, and they might find a few berries and fruit or whatever, and eat that in between. So they probably only eat once a day, once every second day, and in between that just snack on what they could find. And then we got into agriculture and we got into breads and stuff like that, and that's where our health started to turn around. So if you're eating along those lines, and then plenty of fibre, like we have the herbal fibre blend before our meals still, plenty of good fibre. We actually mix up some psyllium husk and some flaxseed. We grind that down and mix that. Excellent source of fibre, that 30% flaxseed and then the rest in psyllium husk. Have that 20 minutes before a meal, and then have that good solid meal. Drink heaps of water in the morning and flush it through. Your urine really smells. When the urine really smells, it means that's the toxins out of the liver that are being displaced, because you're drinking plenty of water. The body's relying on fat that it's stored, and when it's storing fat, fat is the first place that toxins are stored. So when you're eating, overeating more than you need for energy, the body then says to the insulin, store that fat somewhere, and the first place is in the liver, and you get that fatty liver disease, alcoholic and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And that stops the function of the filter in the liver, and all of our body's blood goes through the liver every 3 minutes. It's filtered through 500 times a day. So if you've got a fatty dysfunctional liver, you've got fatty dysfunctional blood that feeds every other organ in the body and therefore the brain. And that's where the gut influences the brain, because 95% of the serotonin is actually made in the gut, and transferred up through the vagus nerve into the brain. So if you've got a toxic gut from eating all this crap, you're going to have a toxic brain, and there's your dementia, your Alzheimer's, and that sort of thing. So, yeah, so changing that diet, we found, to intermittent fasting, it can be called a ketone diet if you want. It does involve, for those who are open to eating meat protein, that's fine. If you're not, look for a good plant type of protein, or if you, some people eat fish in lieu of, just make sure it's not toxic, the fish. And eggs, a little bit of dairy, that sort of thing is good animal protein too. That's not directly a meat. So that and supplementation, moderate exercise. I walk 4 days a week, push weights 2 days a week on our home gym. And then on Sundays, I don't. Sunday's my day where I don't intermittently fast. I get up and I have a beautiful bacon and egg breakfast and a slow one with a cup of coffee. Might be anywhere from 7 to 9 o'clock in the morning. Sit back, look at a few videos, whatever. Bit of time out for myself, and then I get on with my day. And I might not eat again till I'm hungry. A lot of people say, "Well, it's 12 o'clock. We've got to eat," and no, I might not eat till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then, if we plan it, we might just put on a slow roast and eat that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with a nice red wine. Bit of time out, bit of community these days is good. We're meeting up with a group of common law people down here on the Gold Coast Sunday afternoon, getting to know that tribe of intelligent people that are making their own future now, instead of some of the people who are too fearful and just choosing not to change these days. It's one of the things is about the attitude. You can call it living in a bubble if you want, but there's often people describe it as a third dimension and a fifth dimensional shift. We're ascending into the fifth dimensional. I think if you remember the old book way back, Celestine Prophecy, and the ninth prophecy was vibrating at a level so high that the others around you didn't see you, or at least didn't notice you. And that's your opportunity now. I can go into a crowd, a party or whatever, and people just won't know me. They don't recognise me. They don't interact because I'm of a different vibration to them. Like if you went into a crowd of bikies that are low energy drug type people, and you wouldn't want to stay there long. So the vibe's a bit low for what I wanted out of my life. And so I create this helping other attitude, this love, this giving, caring sort of attitude. She'll be right. Bit of humour, smiling. I don't wear a mask into supermarkets. I know the law. And I'm happy, and I chat to everybody, and meanwhile everyone's miserable. And anyone who challenges me, I ask them if they want a hug. So, it doesn't matter. It's the Matrix. The film The Matrix is a very real thing, and we're in action now. So live in that fifth dimensional bubble of love, giving, passive resistance, like Gandhi taught. He brought down the British Empire in one of the largest democracies on earth. So just through passive resistance, and that's what we keep doing. We've been on marches. We go there. We talk. We were in tears in one of the marches in Brisbane because of the love that was actually in amongst the crowd that marched and closed down the city. It was beautiful. And the police just stood aside and let us go through. It's a bit different to other capital cities at the moment here, but so it's about standing up for what you mean, but don't get drawn into the darkness vibration of getting even. You can push back, but you don't have to get angry about it. Just get smart about it. And I'm really good at my artwork and computer things, so I put together memes. And every second day I try to put out a meme. And some of those go viral right around the world and help the discussion and keep pushing the boundaries. All the time. And if we need to be there, because some of those people in the third and dense energies are not open to learning yet, but if we're there for them to reach to and be able to put a hand up, and we're there to grab their hand and just give them that bit of information, send them that link, send them the meme, help guide them towards a change in life that we've already been through, guide them. Sometimes I send them an ebook copy freely, just to because they may not have much money, say, well, here, read this. So that sort of thing. So I do that when I can. But really, it's about being there for yourself. Look after yourself, because if you're not high, happy vibration, you're going to get drawn into their fear. And one of the major things of that is keep away from mainstream media, which I call fear stream media these days. The BBC, the ABC, the CNNs, just keep away from them. I listen to the news once a week, generally on Fridays, to see where I can and can't go according to those that we voted in. And I work that out, and so I can work out the strategies I might need to take to go to places, but generally don't do it. I watch shows like this and other alternate media online. And just check your sources that they're not shills trying to sort of talk you into setting up somewhere else. And it's a matter of just being in your high vibration, happy, because that magnifies the love vibration. When you're happy and high in your vibration 10 times, and that overrides fear 10 to 1. If
totally
you're happy,
agree with you. Yeah, on every step of what you've just said, totally agree with you, because I've made it my point to talk to everybody through lockdown, not wearing a mask, that's my choice, and all of these things, and taking extra supplements, because I'm healthy, I don't need to put anything apart from what I choose to put in my body, and it's been available to help people, because I know so many people now have said, I wished I hadn't done this, but I had to do it because of my job and all of these things, and so you help them best way you can, and we've got Stand in the Park and different things like that going on here, so there's lovely networks really coming together now to support and to be of service to people. So the other thing I would briefly like to touch on is hidden sugar in ingredients on like cans of Pepsi and Coke and all of these things. I mean, I picked up, I thought I wanted some little natural sweets to have in the car, because sometimes you think, I could do with a little sweet. And I picked it up, and it was like about 90% sugar. And I was thinking, oh my God. So I put it, but there's just so much hidden, and like I'm always reading the labels now to see what sugar is in there, and aspartame is still in so many things.
Yeah, that's true. And aspartame will lower different aspects in your body too, with the B vitamins and things like that. And people think it's good, but what it actually does is still trigger that sense in the brain that you've had something sweet. So it'll still trigger the insulin thing, and the insulin stores fat. So it still happens, but it's not sugar as such. But yeah, it's hidden. The other day, a supermarket, there was a cereal with a chocolate in it for some reason, and it's one of those grainy things that sports people eat all the time, but it had this chocolate in it, and I looked at it, and it was 30% sugar, and that's hidden in the label, which is black printed on dark brown, so you can hardly read it. And if you look at the per 100 grams servings, you can see how many. So it was 29.7 grams per 100, which is 29%. A simple calculation. But then they break it down in these easy to see new panels up the top and in black on yellow print. The daily serving of sugar is something like 90 grams, and if you eat one of these, it's only 0.03 of your daily intake, so it's okay. You can go ahead, trust us. And they're not there. They're not there for your highest good. Skip the middle of the aisles. We avoid that. Just go to the fruit, the veggies, the meat. you know, if you live in communities like we do, there's a thing called the Green Shed. Every Sunday morning, organic food is sold there from the growers. So you can go along Sunday morning and buy organic food every morning if you can't grow it. We've just taken on growing our own fresh vegetables here in our little shade house. And we got to do it in the shade house because we got possums and they come along and they eat them all. You know, you can do it all you want and then a possum comes along and eats it all, you know. So our herbs and lettuce and tomatoes and capsicums, we're growing there, and it's a little side project because sometimes you can't go out much, so why not utilise that time to mend your nets, as the fishermen do when the weather's not good. We're doing that all the time, and I'm studying at my age, like, you know, we're all in the same era of baby boomers, and technology just wasn't around. Computers weren't invented when I was born, and now they run the world. So we've had to step up all the time. That's a photo that Jeff's just put up of my root canal when I removed that in 2015, October 2015. I had this incredible reaction. Just to explain root canals, when you have a root canal, they drill down, take the root out, and then they sterilise it, and then they fill it with wax. And the wax over time shrinks back about 3%, leaving a void. And bacteria grows in there, and it's an anaerobic bacteria. And so it doesn't sound like much, 3%, but if you do that over 30 years, gradually leaching in through your nervous system, because that's where it's connected to, into the nervous system, your lymph system here, and then right down into the kidneys, and that's one of the major causes of my seizures, was that root canal that I had here in the front right of my face. I was hit in the mouth with a hockey stick in 1985, and I had a root canal then. Didn't know any different back then. They didn't know much different. Yeah, but I went to a holistic dentist, and he's a naturopath as well. And then my immune system, he said, was running like a Ferrari just to keep me alive. And even though I had the seizures, it was keeping me alive. That's its job. And then when I had the root canal out, and I had green pus under this tooth, and it had moved because my jaw broke underneath the lining of the teeth, and my two molars over here had white pus under it. So two different bacteria feeding into my nervous system 24/7 for 30 years. And so that's why my immune system had to work like a Ferrari to keep me alive. Now I can work like a little a Mazda 3 and get on with life, you know. But it over exaggerated or expressed itself in my rashes around my face because my eyes, well, your eyes are near the brain, and I had 2 stages towards dementia, remember? And so I could have had something quite toxic behind my eyes. It could have been a tumour, I don't know, never got that assessed, but I always had a lot of phlegm in here and around the sinuses. So it came out the eyes, and so, yeah, 2016, that's what expressed itself 9 months later, and then a year later it's still there. You can see the liver spots on my face up on the forehead. There's a fair bit of forehead in my forehead, around that area, turning brown. And then I took some stem cell nutrition, which released stem cells out of the bone marrow, and within 3 weeks, my face cleared up. Now, it's just absolutely amazing when you give the body what it needs. You can get the stem cells to rebuild the body. And now, if you look at my image in this, some of the major spots that were there, like that one, is really dissipated. I've got a few around this side of my face at the moment. I'm still releasing in cycles, and that can build up and then drain down in just below where I had my root canal, and then go into the lymph glands, and then that's expressing just occasionally it comes up as it releases. And that's an image of the lymph glands, which are in around there, and usually around the joints and the bones of the body. The lymphs are an interesting thing. You've got the liver as the major filter, and then it goes into the kidneys as well, which does more filtering, and then it goes into the blood, and the lymphs are the final filter for the blood, and they can get blocked up. And when that happens, it can happen in around the breast, the armpits, the groin, the knees, that sort of thing, elbows. Usually around the joints, you got a lot of lymph glands, and they get blocked up, and then that it contributes to the arthritis as well. So what can move them through is a bit of exercise, regular exercise. Excuse me. If you walking at least moderately 30, 40 minutes 3 times a week, and push, like walk fast, don't just stroll. It's not a stroll, it's a walk as fast as you can without straining the joints, and build up a sweat, and then go a bit further and a bit further, whatever's comfortable. I currently walk 4 kilometres every second day or so, and it's a 4 kilometre walk, but it's living on Tambourine Mountain, very downhill, and then I really got to push it uphill. It's a hard slug, but when I first did it, I had to stop 4 or 5 times. Now I walk home. I'm home within 40 minutes, which is about 10 minutes a kilometre, good pace, and feel good. And that's pumping around the blood and clearing out those lymph glands. The other thing for people who like it, I don't like it myself, but Sharky likes it, is small mini trampoline. The smaller ones, only about 3 or 4 foot wide.
Perfect for me.
Yep, good. And bounce side to side on those. And that, as you're bouncing side to side, it's moving the lymph glands, especially around the groin. We tend to leave, we're taught through religion and that the groin's a naughty word and that area, stay away from it. Really important. It's the base chakra. Lots of things happen there. And so a lot of lymph glands are in that area. So you're moving that around, pumping, helping those veins pump the stale blood back up to the heart to disperse to the liver, for sending that blood then to the lungs for dispersion. And one of the things too is that people underestimate the major detox organ in the body is not the kidneys, liver, or bowel. It's actually the lungs. That's why if you don't breathe for 3 minutes, you die. You're actually not dispelling the toxins that were there and bringing in the good stuff you need. And when you're wearing the face coverings that are requested these days, you can sort of have more toxins staying in there and breathing back in than what is good for the body. So those are where choices can be made depending on the local laws and that sort of thing. So that's an important ingredient too, is to have fresh air doing those things, and pumping those lymphs around. And we have something from AIM called Herbal Release that we can get here in Australia, but I'm not sure if it's available in the UK. I don't think so, but that's really good for clearing the lymphs. But when you do clear the lymphs, you can have detox symptoms. So when you're going through this, if you've had 40, 50 years of sheer neglect and then you finally decide to do something, you can have detox symptoms, as in you're releasing the toxins that have been built up in the body for decades, and they're going into the blood, and you can feel unwell. And usually if you've got a cycle of feeling unwell and then feeling way on top, feeling unwell, way on top, those cycles are generally around 3 days. And you have a cycle of drinking lots of water and then not much water, and headaches, lethargy, diarrhea, skin rashes, boils, that sort of thing. That's a sign of detoxing, which means you're in the right direction. So drink more water, not tap water. Quality water is really important because tap water contains chlorine and fluoride in some places. And the chlorine is designed to kill bacteria in pipes. And when you have it in your body, it goes through your pipes and kills your gut bacteria. And so drinking tap water is not good. We actually sell a filter that takes out the chlorine and fluoride and that sort of thing. I stood for Parliament in 2009 in Queensland on an anti-fluoride stance. Didn't get in, but I
wonder why.
Well, I got enough votes that put out the Labor candidate at the time, and a different guy got in the seat of Gavin in Narang there. So we're passionate about, and then we found a way around it, and we've sold hundreds of those throughout Australia and helped hundreds of people, and it just makes a world of difference. I was talking to a mother just yesterday whose daughter is Asperger's, and she doesn't drink water until she got the water that our machine makes, and it's just a benchtop thing. And she said, "Oh, I love this. It actually makes me taste good." It's because she had a little bit of mental issues. She really was in tune with what she needed on another level.
So what about boiling water?
Boiling water still doesn't get rid of it might kill bacteria, but doesn't kill the chlorine or the fluoride. They're still in there.
Right.
And we used to have a machine that used to do lots of things. It was a $3,000 machine plugged into electricity. Used to take all that out, but every 6 weeks you had to go through this maintenance process of reversing this and that and deshelling and all that stuff. We found a better solution. Technology came up with it, and then when we found it and we wanted to help others, we tried to share it around and help people. A lot of people are scared of helping people because there's a perception of selling to them, and absolutely nothing in life happens until you make a sale. As a teenager or 20-something, you find a romance, and as a guy, you're selling yourself to that chick, and vice versa. When you want to go somewhere to a pub, you're selling the idea to a mate or your girlfriend. When you like something or a movie, you're telling a friend about that movie, you're sharing with them. And we need to get it out of the head that selling's bad. It's helping others find something else, and that's what we do. And we used to be scared of selling. No, we are totally devoted to helping people, and that sustains us. It means I can stay at home, write books, learn technology. We've got a new YouTube channel starting, Be the Life You Love. It's only got a couple of videos up on it now, but we're learning that. I've written the book up there, that one. And Shakti's just helping so many people every week, and it changes lives. And means we can stay at home and not have to work at a cafe because we're helping people and we gain an income from it. And therefore, we're not a burden on the community. We're fit and healthy. And that photo on the cover of the book is Shakti in Canungra, just west of the Gold Coast. We had a day there when at a little camping ground, and that's when she was nearly 100 kilos. And the difference it can make when you take responsibility for your life. And it just a turnaround. That's her also on the right in the purple dress. So it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, fabulous. Going back to, there was a lady that had a question, and I mentioned to her earlier, which I think you've covered, about her blocked lymphatic system, and she's getting all this toxic waste coming out, and excuse me, and now it's in her breast. So trampoline would be a good way for her to start moving it all around as well.
Yes, good circulation. It's really about circulation for sure. It's moderate exercise, trampoline, being up around the chest area, moving the arms, getting small weights, 1, 2, 3 kilos, whatever she can handle, and do exercises with her arms so you're pumping in and out and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And good quality water, get away from the tap water. Even she's got to buy it, that's the way it is. 40 cents a litre for water if you buy it at 10 10-litre jugs or whatever from the supermarket. Do that. You should be drinking around about 1 litre for every 25 kilos of weight. So an average person might be, say, 80 kilos, so you want to be drinking at least 3 kilos of water per day to pump things through, rehydrate yourself, because if you dehydrate, it's going to affect you up here because the bowel's not moving through too. The bowel uses a lot of water that's absorbed into the fibre, does its job with the gut flora, and then passes out through the system. So, yeah. So really, yes, it's about moving around, plenty of water. There are some herbal remedies that can help clear lymph nodes, and also a bit of iodine, the Lugol's iodine. Lugol's is a 15%. It's not a brand. It's a 15% iodine mix of. So look, search for some of that. Get some natural stuff. Take 4 to 5 drops of that every day. Just with a meal, with some fat in your meal, and that will go into the thyroid, and the thyroid is what triggers the glands in your around your liver and that to produce amino acids to help with the correct digestion. So in conversion of things to right things to help your body.
Let's come into this diagram put up here.
Yeah.
I just noticed. I noticed there's Crohn's disease. Well, any one of these things that are listed on this chart is the first thing you want to do is detox. Is that doing the celery detox, or is it just a juice detox? Where would you start?
I'd start by reducing carbs first. Celery, you can go on these things that are like the celery and that sort of thing, or juice, but they're not sustainable. After a week or 2 or 3, they're not sustainable. But eating less carbs every day and eventually eliminating carbs is the first thing you can do, because carbs are the things that turn to fat that causes the circulation issues. So you can have a donut and a cappuccino, and within literally half an hour, the gut bacteria in your bowel will be different to what it was. And it'll take 3 or 4 days for that to get out of the system as bacteria. If you keep eating carbs every day, the donuts and cakes and biscuits and cereal and grains and breads, it'll contribute to that every 4 hours, and therefore you'll have an unsupported gut bacteria. Everything you eat goes through that area, and it's absorbed through water, goes into the liver, is converted to energy. When it's converted to energy, it'll either be ATP, which you can use, and glucose, or it'll be seen as energy and stored as fat. And if it's stored as fat, it's a place for toxins to gather, and they will gather in those areas. And that's eventually you end up with it stored around your gut area, especially in your backside. It's all mostly in that mid area, so it's easy access. That's the way our ancestry designed it, in that if you feasted on a beast, you might have killed a large buffalo or something, and you might just actually pig out. After a while, it had to store the extra energy near the liver, so that when it came time to famine, because you didn't find another beast or food to eat, it was close to the liver to transfer there for energy. So the biggest thing you can do really as a detox is get off the carbs, clean the bowel out, have good fibre. In Australia, we have the herbal fibre blend that's brilliant. The UK can't get that at the moment. Canada have a different version of it. The US have got it. But have good fibre, plenty of water with that. You definitely need to take a lot of water with that, because that's what helps. And that particular product, that's soluble and insoluble fibre. So this soluble fibre will soak up the water, which has got the toxins in it, and then the insoluble fibre will be like a scraping of the colon wall and eventually take off a mucus that's lining the colon wall. It ends up like a snake skin, and it stops the absorption of nutrients and the return of rubbish out of the body, the waste and the toxins. So that can start out like a snake skin and over time end up like leather. And I've seen pictures of some like tyre rubber, and they can cause blockages, especially in the bends of the colon around the. A lot of people don't realise, see the two bends on the upper left and of each of those, yeah, there and on the other side. Well, they're actually hooked onto the back of the rib cage. A lot of people only see it in 2D, so it goes around the front of your body and then it returns and hooks onto the back of the rib cage there. And that is where the major blockages happen. And if that blocks up on the ascending side, as per the picture on the left, that area, the feces is actually quite liquid there. It's like gravy, and that's where the major water is taken out to enable us to push it uphill, if you've heard of that term. And then you go across the transverse colon to the other side, but the major blockage is in that area at the descending colon because you dehydrated the stool a lot by then, and it should be getting close to a normal stool consistency. And then if you're constipation, the feces will sit in that area where the cursor is going now, and that can cause it's like an internal nappy rash. The feces sits there for too long and irritates the wall, and so you get a nappy rash type thing on the inside because it's high acid and it's just sitting there stagnant, and the toxins are leaching into the colon wall. And then that's called Crohn's disease, and eventually will turn into colitis, and then usually ulcerated colitis, and then polyps. And the polyps ultimately can progress into cancers. Mm. And so when you're having a colonoscopy and they say you got polyps, well, that's what it is. And that can happen on either side there. And that little ring circle there that Jeff's got his cursor near is diverticulitis. We often hear of that. And that's where you're straining. If you go to, what I used to say is I go to a public toilet and I've had constipation, you see my teeth marks on the back of the toilet door as you push. And as you're pushing, you can push the little bubble into the colon wall, and that bubble can fill with feces. And that's okay until it gets inflamed and toxic, and that's called diverticulitis. The itis bit is inflammation. And then doctors will say, well, they give you some antibiotics for a start to kill the bacteria, which doesn't help the gut, and then it says lay off the fibre, which doesn't help. As the feces passes through, it got a chance of collecting that and getting out. So, yeah, I can do a full talk on how all this works on another time if you want.
Yeah, no, that would be lovely. And I mean, I learn every time I've listened to your talks, I gain so much information. I mean, you're so full of information, wisdom and knowledge. And thank you for sharing and coming on, because I know we haven't even touched on the different types of feces, because, like, you know, there's floaters and sinkers and all sorts of things.
Yeah, so, sneaky sinkers.
Yeah. So maybe, you know, later on down the track, you'd come back again and share some more of your wonderful wisdom with us.
Oh, I'd be glad to. It's great to share.
Yeah, and I know, you know, you and Shakti together are a powerful duo with, you know, you complement each other and everything you do. So I take my hat off to you both. I've been always inspired and guided by what you've done and how you've helped people, and your love of just helping people, full stop.
It's interesting how we came together on a Lonely Hearts newsletter, met, and I knew I was going to marry her that night. We literally married 4 months later. and our anniversary, 25 years, is coming a couple of weeks. 25 years, and we live and work together 24/7. And
Yeah.
it's not easy, but when we have an argument, she apologises and everything's good. So we just get on with it.
I just clocked that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But,
I'll have her on later on down the track, and then she can say her piece.
Oh, she'd love to, yeah. It's about helping people, and in the helping of people, you gain your own rewards and satisfaction. So Shakti is about helping people with a fulfilling lifestyle. It's at the end of the day, it's fulfillment, meaningfulness through purpose. And that's what we do. We help people do that. We're doing it. And if you've been there, done that, and that's what our YouTube channel is going to be all about, is be the life you love. And that's what we're working on, is helping people live it. And we bought a little A-liner caravan. We're going to travel out back hopefully next year, borders being open and everything. And we want to help people on our travels and just show them how to make a damper and have a good life. And, it's about being happy and sharing and getting the technology right so we can still live stream from Longreach or Alice Springs or wherever, So.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you so much for all that you've shared today. It's been absolutely awesome. And people know where to contact you. Your number's been up, and all the links are there for people to connect with you and just connect with whatever they've got going on, and let them you be able to help them.
For sure. Yeah. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah. So thank you very much for coming on. It's been great.
Good.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, very good.
Thanks,
very
mate.
entertaining. Yeah, very knowledgeable. Yeah. So next time it'll be know your stall, eh?
Well, my opening line often in these talks is, I used to talk shit for a living, and now I'm not even a politician. So.
What was it you used to have on the back of the car?
Yeah, we constipated but carrying on undeterred.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. That was always a good line.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Take care and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye.